Despite the Prime Minister's assurances that freedom of speech and the right to protest are protected by this new transitional government, protesters in Khartoum were still met with heavy use of tear gas and stun grenades. Protesters even reported a more potent form of tear gas than what was used in previous protests. Of course, as in previous demonstrations, the authorities fired tear gas canisters directly at protesters' bodies, which is illegal, injuring several. We don't have exact numbers or confirmed numbers, I should say, on the number of protesters injured in today's mass demonstrations, waiting on the Sudan Central Doctors Committee to release those figures. But we do know that a member of the dam resistance committees sustained a severe face injury, and if you have been following on Twitter, you most likely saw the horrific images. He underwent emergency surgery, and he is recovering. Activists also reported the use of a strange gas that causes severe skin irritation. This is not new. This has been used since the 2018-2019 revolution, and now being used again. Arrests, of course, also continued in Khartoum. Sudan coup forces, even though yesterday Hamdok was shading everybody, talking about we need to create an environment where people are not arrested unlawfully and where peaceful protests can happen and protesters are not attacked and injured. Don't know where that message dissipated into what atmosphere, because today the authorities were out in full force. They attacked hospitals again, and literally, I watched the video of them dragging an injured protester out of the hospital to arrest them. So, business as usual. In Al-Gadarif, resistance committees reported several arrests also taking place at their mass demonstrations, including Wajdi Khalifa, who is a member of the local anti-corruption committee. We've talked a lot about the anti-corruption committee. You can go to past recaps and figure out what that is. Wajdi Khalifa was just released very, very recently after having been detained since October 25th, only to be rearrested today. He, along with another named resistance committee member, were detained by military intelligence today. In Kassala, protests went pretty smoothly, and after their mass demonstration, they had a one-day sit-in. So, good for them. The Central Doctors Committee announced, unfortunately, the death of another protester. 26-year-old Nourallah Hamad died today as a result of injuries he sustained during the October 25th demonstrations. Nourallah was reportedly severely beaten by authorities and suffered a brain hemorrhage and was in the hospital until his death today. That takes the death toll up to 43. 43 people lost their lives, were killed. Their lives were taken since October 25th. Tomorrow is likely to be a mellow day considering today's eventful events. But I suspect that we're going to be hearing some wild statements coming out of the government and other officials, because that's usually what happens. That's the cycle. People protest, they get attacked, government says some wild lies to cover up their crimes, people protest, they're attacked, etc. Rinse, repeat. One thing is for sure, even in the statements released by several resistance committees after today's events, this isn't stopping. In Al-Gadarif, Resistance Committee said, you've arrested our committee members, you've arrested prominent people in our community. Not going to stop us. It's not scaring us. We're continuing our resistance. So, continuing until the end of military rule.